So we've been together 6 months. Pretty amazing. So this is what our next 6 months will look like. We're gonna go to once a month from now on. So our next meeting will be November 13th, and then December 11th, and then January 15th, February 12th, March 12th, and then we'll have our graduation celebration on April 16th.
With black bean brownies, ooh.
We'll oh, you got a weight taker out there.
Income-
So yeah, we'll celebrate
income
with
tax day.
some yummy,
Yeah.
modified recipes, and maybe we'll repeat some black bean brownies and.
Yeah, I
and,
was telling somebody about them.
Yeah, I mean, they're memorable,
Oh,
right?
they were wonderful. Oh, my goodness. they
Chuck,
were
Chuck can't admit it yet, but I can tell he
I
liked
like
them.
them.
They were very,
Yeah,
they were
really
good.
Good, good. Yeah, they're dense, they're they're a different kind of brownie, but good. Oh, no worries, we just pulled up the slide of what the next 6 months are gonna look like.
And I saw the chocolate chips that you were talking about.
Oh, did you the lilies? Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, those are pretty good. Yeah, if you wanna try them sometime, those are pretty good.
You have a schedule printed out?
Yeah, if you wanna jot these dates down, and I can also next time bring a schedule too. But yeah, once a month from here on out. It's kinda hard to believe we've been together 6 months.
I know, it is.
Gone by fast. And then you guys have got Halloween to negotiate, so Halloween means a lot of candy.
2 times.
And then we've got.
Three times.
Yeah, then we've got Thanksgiving to negotiate,
Right.
and then Christmas. So we've got a lot to negotiate in there. A lot of temptations, but you know the tricks, and again, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas are all now and then, so we wanna have a good time, we wanna go and enjoy, we wanna be with friends and family, and then just make the best choices that we can, but we still wanna have a good time. So those are just days on a calendar that, you know, if you have a little extra that day, it's not gonna throw you completely off track. Because remember, when we get off track, we get out, we have a flat tire, we fix the tire, we don't slash the rest of our tires. We just fix that tire and get back.
That's a good thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody get these dates down? And next time I'll remember to bring some too. And again, just once again, I know we throw this up every time, but we're shooting, if you need a 5% weight loss, and then 150 minutes of activity, and that's good for everybody, safe activity a week. So, this group, now, again, a lot of you didn't need to lose weight, but for the ones that did need to lose weight, look at these numbers. This group lost 52.25 pounds. These are 4-pound bags of sugar. That equates to this many bags of sugar. That is amazing. Well done. Well done. And you guys are so active, you collectively worked out enough minutes to walk to Denver, Colorado.
Oh.
It must be 900 miles.
Pretty amazing, right?
Yeah,
Pretty-
871,
yeah,
right?
pretty amazing.
850, is that what it is?
Yeah. So again, that's a lot of minutes of activity that you put towards your health, which is amazing.
Ooh, it's uphill all the way.
Yeah, mile high.
So well done, well done, well done. All right, so let's talk about some things. You know, we've been doing this for 6 months. We've tried a lot of different things. What are some examples of things that have and haven't worked for you? What are some things that stick out in your mind that, you know, that have been kind of those key go-to things for you? Or what are some things that maybe work for others that just haven't worked for you?
Keeping the number of carbs even across all the meals is very, very difficult.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We all kind of have that heavier meal meal that we eat. So again, those are things to be taken into consideration. So, you know, there might be that meal where you really don't push that max, and then the other meal that you push it a little bit, you know, you push the line. So again, a lot of times people just don't like that much breakfast. And then of course there's some people, like Tammy and I, for example. Tammy loves breakfast, and I probably don't, you know, I used to, but with my new routine, I don't eat as much breakfast. And then I probably put myself in a position where I eat a lot more lunch than she does. So it's just a matter of, you know, what works for your lifestyle and where you kind of enjoy, you know, that balance. What about labels?
Most important.
Yeah, labels, looking at labels is working. Kind of know now what to zone in on, you know, looking at that total carbohydrate line, looking at that fat line.
I'm not too sure of the fats. I'm a little confused about the fats.
So let's talk about fats. So on the nutrition label, you'll have this is the one where we kind of look at percentages. Because to figure out the grams of fat, you know, that's just a lot to calculate. Because we're looking at grams of protein and we're looking at grams of carbs. So for the fat one, we think of fat in two different ways. We think of fat as saturated fat and unsaturated fat. And saturated fat is the one that raises our bad cholesterol. And unsaturated fat is the one that is good for us. So that raises our healthy, our HDL, our good cholesterol. The more good cholesterol we have, the lower our bad cholesterol. So it's kind of that ratio. So again, we think, okay, saturated fat versus unsaturated fat. At the top of your nutrition label, you're gonna have total fat. So when we look at that total fat line, we really, just to kind of glance at it, we wanna make sure that that total fat is 10% or less. That's just a good, you know, if you're in the grocery store and you're picking up products, you're gonna say, okay, is the total fat less than 10%, 10% or less? Then if we wanna do a little bit deeper dive, underneath that total fat, there'll be saturated fats and unsaturated fats, and then sometimes even trans fat. Well, trans fats are those ones that we wanna stay completely away from. That's that preservative type of product that's got a lot of preservatives in it, and they put trans fat in it to keep it on the shelf longer. But the United States is doing better about keeping trans fat out of products. I mean, not 100% yet, but doing a lot better. So then when we look at how much saturated fat versus unsaturated fat, we wanna look at, okay, of that 10% of this product that's got fat in it, where's that split? Is it more saturated fat or is it more unsaturated fat? So again, just make sure that that total fat is 10% or less, and then look at how it's broken down. You know, if it's a heavy, we know our saturated fats are gonna be a lot of our meat products, right? That's typically where you run into a lot of saturated fat. So you know those are gonna have it. And then when you look at like different products, again, a lot of them will be less than 10%, but if it's more than 10%, we know we don't wanna have as much of that. Try to keep that to a minimum if it's over 10%. Then when we look at proteins, what's our rule on proteins? We wanna make sure that it's a good source of protein, right? Meats, okay, we wanna have a nice lean piece of meat if we're gonna have meats, but when you get into protein bars and protein shakes and, oh gosh, a patient sent me the other day, now we've got protein Pop-Tarts and there's protein, you know, because protein's a big buzzword right now. So they're throwing protein in your Cheerios now. So they're throwing protein in everything so they can put across the front of the box, protein, you know, so people will be drawn to it. Oh, well, this must be good because it's got a lot of protein in it. But when you see that, think about our protein rule. Our protein rule is 10-1. So when we say, okay, how many grams of protein does this product have in it? We want to add a 0 to that. So if it's got 30 grams of protein, we add a 0 to it, and that makes it 300. So we know the calories then on that product need to be 300 or less. We always want to compare the total grams of protein with a 0 added to it to the number of calories. And if it's equal to or less, it's a good source of protein. Great example is protein bars. How do they make protein bars taste so good? They add a lot of sugar to them, a lot of them. So like for example, a Cliff Bar. A Cliff Bar, they taste great. They've got those macadamia nut, and they've got the chocolate and all these different flavors of them, but they add a lot of sugar to those. And if you look at the label, most of that brand is not a good source of protein just because of the added sugar that they put in it to make it taste good. So whenever something claims to be a protein-enriched product, always make sure that you pull out your 10-to-1 rule and say, okay, how many grams of protein are in this? And if I add a 0 to it, does it equal the calories, or is it greater than? Because we want the calories to be less than that number of protein. So that's called the 10-to-1 rule. Then also, just glance at, and it's almost like on sodium, if this is a salty product or not. Most of us, most of you guys aren't watching sodium that close, but we know that we don't want to just eat a lot of product that's heavy in sodium, and that's going to be chips and crackers and things like that. And soup, yeah. But now we have the option for low sodium soups. Most of them have a low sodium option, which is wonderful, because most of the time you really don't need all the sodium that they throw at it. And if it does taste bland, getting the low sodium, well, you can increase the spice in it by adding your own spices, more like peppers and different spices like that, so you don't have to have so much sodium in it. What are some other things that are working or not working? I'm glad you brought up about fat, because fat is one of those that can be confusing, because we talk a lot about fats, but then we've got healthy fats and unhealthy fats, and again, we're really thinking about cholesterol, because when you get that cholesterol number with your blood work, well, it's the cholesterol that your body is manufacturing from the saturated fat that you eat. So that's the reason why we really keep an eye on saturated fat, and that's the reason why when given the choice, we want to have lean proteins, lean meats, so we don't take in as much saturated fat.
What is a good protein bar? It doesn't have too much sugar.
So again, there's different ones, but just, can you think of a
Because there's
brand?
such a big variety.
There's
Kind bars
so
are pretty
many.
good. Kind bars are
Kind bars,
they're
yeah.
mostly like nuts and stuff.
What kind of it?
K-I-N-D, yeah.
And they make a lot of different flavors.
Yeah.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, the Cliff Bars are basically like
A candy bar.
candy bar when it comes. They have a lot of good flavors and they taste
And
good.
Kind bars.
Where do
There's-
you get those at the
Come in
store?
Grocery
size.
stores.
What's
I know,
that?
but where?
Kind bars
What's
come
that?
in.
Yes.
Oh, like
Kind
we have
bars
the
come in a little-
cookies
yeah.
and all that kind of
Cookies.
stuff, yeah.
Oh.
In that aisle, down from the cookies usually are the protein bars. There's another one, I think the Nature Valley are okay, certain varieties of them, yeah. Some of them are not as good as others, but Nature Valley is a common one. And then, of course, you can get into the mega ones in the health section that have, a lot of protein in them, but then their taste is gonna be basically just
I
protein.
think the RX bars are like about 5 ingredients too.
Are they?
Yeah, I think they just have, and they don't, I think they sweeten with dates maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
So. I'm not a big fan.
But you know what, we might look at, next time, I'm gonna make
Bring those
myself
mini
up.
ones.
Yeah, let's,
That's what she was just talking, Francis was like, oh, they have the mini kinds. So
we,
those are good.
we have some kind bars that we can share with you, and maybe let's look at protein bars too. Just make this.
We'll bring a couple in.
We can sample them.
Yeah.
Chuck's going, oh great, something that doesn't have black beans in it.
I have.
It is, when you start looking
Yeah.
at labels, and that's when you look at that saturated fat, like Susan said, or trans fats, that's kind of what you're looking at, because they all have the same amount of protein in them, or most of them do.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the unsaturated fats, what do you do as far as olive oil, corn oil, canola oil, safflower, all of those? I know everybody says olive oil. but
Right.
Doesn't canola have roughly the same makeup?
There's some pretty strong opinions on canola oil. You'll have some people in a camp that say absolutely cut canola oil out, and there's other people that are saying it's not so bad. I mean, I don't know, Tammy, where's your stance on
Yeah,
canola?
I think they're fine. I think
Yeah.
they're still yeah.
As far as safflower oil goes, different ones, I think it's
They're
fine.
plant oil.
I would stay away from just pure vegetable oil, though. Those tend to be a little bit,
And butter is saturated.
oh yeah, and butter.
Butter's good.
Because now it's like
Butter's good.
ghee and that tallow is kind of a new thing that's come back. I don't know, I've never looked at label on that.
Have you guys heard of tallow? Like,
Yeah.
Candles.
French fries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people
Yeah.
cook with it though.
Yeah, they do,
Yeah.
they do. And that's why, who is it, Steak and Shake?
Yeah, that's.
Just came out and they're very proud that they're using it now to fry their French fries because it's supposed to be healthier, so.
Tallow?
tallow,
Yeah.
yeah, it's supposed to.
They're really promoting that that's what they fry their fries in, so,
Must be cheaper.
yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, I think you're right. It
Maybe
It's
probably-
just a
you
new
use an air
fad, I
fryer.
Yeah,
Not worry about it.
exactly,
Well, the
exactly.
latest is
You know, we've
avocado
had the
oil.
Asian,
Which,
yes.
which avocado oil, I think you can't go
Yeah.
wrong on.
Yeah.
It's just, and again, that might be something that we dive a little bit deeper in. Some of them have a higher, temperature threshold than others, so you don't, you can't use them for everything. But that might be something interesting too.
Yeah, that would be good, there's some good information
Yeah.
on oils.
All right, so meeting less often, you won't be seeing Tammy and I's face, and we won't have that reminder of, we gotta stay on track. So it's a challenge to stay motivated when you're not meeting all the time. Because again, you can kind of start to slip, and then one day feeds into the next day, and feeds into the next day, and it's just really easy to kind of slip off track. So how do we stay motivated and not permanently go off track? So this is Marie's story. Marie is at risk of type 2 diabetes and started the Lifestyle Change Program to make a change. She decided the new version of herself would eat right and get active. Marie has been working hard to try some new routines and make progress towards her goals. As a result, she reached her weight and activity goals. Strangely enough, now that she's reached her goals, Marie doesn't feel quite as motivated. She starts sliding back into her old habits. Marie decides to take action by updating the new version of herself she knows is possible. She also wants to show her husband what is possible and bring him along on this journey. Her plan now is to create new routines they can enjoy in order to make healthy decisions together. Today, Marie is back to feeling motivated and she plans to live a long and healthy life. Good job, Marie. What things did Marie do to stay motivated? So
She incorporated her husband.
Right?
Yeah.
A partner is always good. Whether it's a husband, whether it's a friend, somebody just to help keep you motivated, keep you accountable. Sometimes, as we know, family is not the best at that. Sometimes family doesn't like change. Sometimes family just likes for you to be the same. So again, you've got to find that person in your life that will help you, that's got the same goals that you do. She set habits for herself. She started to slide off track, and so she said, this isn't going to work. Involve somebody close to her, like you said, and then keeping it fun. New things are always, that's what I love about here. They are always bringing in new things, for you guys to try and to challenge you. Because again, we just know what we know, and we kind of get set in our routine, and to have somebody introduce new things or to go out and do new things is always great. So this is a video that talks about how to, really stay motivated and how to keep yourself on track. So we'll watch him. I think we've seen him before in the past, but he's got some pretty good ideas.
Your outcomes in life are often a lagging measure of your habits. We think the thing that needs to change is the bank account or the test score or the number on the scale, but actually the thing that needs to change are the habits that precede those outcomes. Rather than making the goal the default, the thing that you focus on almost exclusively, let's make the system the default, and then only check in on the goal occasionally to see if we're moving in the right direction. Achieving a goal only changes your life for the moment. It's actually not the thing that you're looking for. We think the results are the thing that needs to change, but it's actually the process behind the results. Like, if you have a messy room, let's say your bedroom is a mess, and you set a goal to clean that room, You can get motivated and do it for 2 or 3 hours, and then you turn around and you have a clean room for now. If you don't change the messy habits that led to a dirty room in the first place, then you turn around 2 weeks later and you have a messy room again. And so actually you don't need a clean room, you need better cleaning habits, and then your room will always be clean. You don't need to lose weight, you need better eating habits, and then your weight will always be around where you want it to be. You don't need more money, you just need better financial habits, and then you'll always have enough money to manage the thing that comes up. And I think that's one of the reasons why small habits matter so much. They don't necessarily transform your life overnight, right away. Like doing 1 push-up does not transform your body, but it does cast a vote for being the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. Or meditating for 1 minute might not give you an immediate sense of calm in your life, but it does cast a vote for being a meditator. The real goal is not to run a marathon, the goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to write a book, the goal is to become a writer. Because once you've adopted that identity, you're really not even pursuing behavior change anymore. You're just kind of acting in alignment with the type of person you already see yourself to be. It's kind of like true behavior change is really identity change. Because once you've changed that internal story, it's way easier to show up each day. You're not even really motivating yourself that much to do it. You're just like, this is who I am now. There's sort of this like yo-yo effect, you know? Like someone trains for a half marathon and then they run the race, and that race motivated them to train for the last 3 or 4 months. And then the race ends and they stop, they take a week off, then a week turns into 2 weeks, and then 2 months, and so on. And then they turn around like 4 months later, like, man, I haven't ran in months. Like, I need to sign up for a new race or something. Because if it's all about the goal, as soon as the goal is achieved, you don't have that motivating you anymore. But if instead it's about being a runner, then even once you finish the race, you still have a reason to show up again the next week, because you're like, well, that's what I do, is I run. That's who I am.
Right.
And so I think that's a more, in pretty much any domain, true long-term thinking is really goalless thinking. It's much more about being that person, developing that identity, following that system, and then you just happen to realize your potential along the way. So what you come to realize is that your habits reinforce a particular identity. And sometimes this can be positive and sometimes it can be negative. The story could be things like, I'm bad at math, or I'm terrible at remembering people's names, or I'm not good at remembering directions to places.
Yeah.
And all of those that's just an internal story that you tell yourself, but each time you have an experience that reinforces that, the story gets solidified. And so I think the method, the takeaway here is that every action you take is kind of like a vote for the type of person you want to become. And if you can master the right actions, if you can master the right habits, then you can start to cast votes for this new identity, this desired person that you want to be. Good habits become easy habits when you can learn to find joy in delaying gratification.
There's no rush. Build for the long term, guys.
So it's as if they're standing at the foot of the mountain, they can see the summit, they can see the thing they want to make an impact. What they don't see is the mountain. This large, immovable object. You can go up fast, you can go up slow, I don't care. But there's still a mountain. What they don't understand is that life, that relationships, and career fulfillment are a journey. There's no app for that. I got nothing. You've got to go through the slow, plodding, annoying, meandering process called career and life.
Everything in my life, when something got hard, I quit. I wasn't great at reading, I wasn't great at writing, so I just quit. I couldn't catch on as fast as you. I had to work harder than you, so I quit. Like, man, if I could just go that distance, that extra mile, to just go, just to finish. I want to feel victory. And victory for me wasn't winning, it was just finishing.
This is one of the things that's challenging about building better habits, is that they're very easy to dismiss on any given day, right? Like, what is the difference between eating a burger and fries for lunch or eating a salad? Not a whole lot on any given day. Your body looks basically the same in the mirror. The scale hasn't really changed. It's really easy to dismiss it in your mind and say, oh, this is kind of insignificant. But, you know, you turn around 2 or 5 or 10 years later and you realize, oh, wow, those daily choices really did add up. It's just much harder to see on a granular basis. The cost of your good habits is in the present, and the cost of your bad habits is in the future. And the fact that we prioritize the present over the future ends up making a lot of habit change difficult for that reason. the ultimate form of intrinsic gratification is a reaffirmation of your desired identity. So if your desired identity is, I'm the type of person who doesn't miss workouts, or I'm an athlete, every time you're doing a squat, literally you can be in the middle of the rep and you're already getting gratified because you're acting in alignment with the type of person you want to be. It's like, oh, I just did that rep, I didn't miss this workout, that feels good. Now, I do think it takes a little while to get to that point where that actually feels like you. You know, you can imagine somebody goes to the gym for the first week or the first month. They don't quite identify that way yet because they haven't spent enough time there. Stephen Pressfield, I think it's in the War of Art, he has a piece where he talks about a wolf and how the wolf develops a territory, right? But the only way that it develops a territory is by being there, by walking around the terrain every day. And then it starts to feel like, this is mine, this is my home. And he talks about writers doing that by, like, you make the chair and the computer and the desk in your office your territory. It becomes your terrain. And I think that that is true for most habits too. Like when you walk into the gym for the first time, you feel very uncertain. It's not your territory. You don't feel like it's your terrain. But once you show up again for a week or a month or a year, at some point you cross this invisible threshold where it starts to feel like, yeah, this is for me, or I belong. And that, I think, once you've crossed that stage, it becomes more likely that you can get that kind of reaffirmation of your identity and start to instantly feel gratified. But there are other things that you can do in the short term to feel more gratified while you're working on those habits. So here's just one little tactic. Let's say that you're either trying to work out or build a habit of meditating or something. And so each time you do your habit of meditating for 5 minutes, you have this little jar of marbles. And you got like 100 marbles in there. And 90 are red and 10 are blue. And after each instance of your habit, you walk over and you pull the marble out of the jar. And if you pull out one of the 90, then nothing happens. It's just like pat on the back, good job, you did what you're supposed to. But if you pull out one of the 10, then you get some kind of reward that's exciting to you. Maybe you get to watch Netflix for an hour and not feel guilty, or go for a walk outside, or take a bubble bath, or buy yourself a new jacket, whatever it is, like something that feels rewarding. And what you just did was you introduced an element of immediate gratification and of like surprise and delight to the whole process. And so, yeah, that first week when you're meditating, you still might not identify as a meditator, or you still might not have a sense of calm wash over your life. But you have this other interesting thing that is rewarding right away that maybe gets you to stick with it while you're waiting for those long-term rewards to accumulate. Well, so we do have, and this definitely plays an important role in habits, we do have a bias toward the present. And that makes sense, right? That example I gave about like finding a berry bush, 100 meters away. Well, you should, in fact, go get the food that's close by and not the food that's on the other side of the mountain, because that just makes logical sense. You'd rather have it now, especially when we were not in modern society, right? For 99.999% of human history, we're just trying to survive like every other animal. And so, you should prioritize immediate food, immediate shelter, immediate water, immediate safety. And in fact, our brains are wired to do that. But modern society is a whole different ballgame, because we have all these things that actually you should prioritize delayed outcomes. So you go to college now, and then you graduate in 4 years. You save for retirement today, and then you retire decades from now. You show up at work this week, and then you get a paycheck in a month. And so it's actually like, there are all kinds of things we do in modern society that require you to delay gratification, and that runs a little counter to what our wiring is, or what our biological preference is. There is a sort of a misalignment of rewards that often happens with habits. So there's an immediate outcome, an immediate reward, and then an ultimate reward. And for your bad habits, one reason bad habits stick so readily, that they form so easily, is because bad habits, often the immediate reward is favorable, right? Like, what's the immediate reward of eating a donut? It's kind of great. It's sweet, it's sugary, it tastes good. It's only the ultimate reward, if you repeat that habit for 6 months or a year or 2 years, that is unfavorable. Meanwhile, good habits are often the exact opposite. The immediate reward of going to the gym, or going to the gym for like a week, isn't really that great. Your body's probably sore. You don't have much to show for it. Your body looks the same. Your weight hasn't really changed. But if you stick to that for 6 months or a year or 2 years, then the ultimate reward is favorable.
What did you think about his comment about usually bad habits, you get the reward immediately, And it's good habits that have that long-term, you know, it takes a while to reap the rewards of a good habit. Did that resonate with anybody?
It's true.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, because the reward of, like his example with a donut.
Yeah.
Gosh, the reward of eating a donut, you really don't see any downside immediately, but if you keep that up, then you will. Whereas if you keep up that good habit, you'll see the reward, but it just takes longer. And that's the reason why bad habits are just so easy to buy into, because you get that immediate reward.
I think having diabetes and being on a meter, your rewards or disappointments are.
And that can be hard to
Really
face
even.
sometimes, right? Because I mean, just like, with the challenges of the holidays that we have coming up, those can be, you're with family, you're with friends, you're having a good time, but then you have to face that number on your glucometer, and that can be kind of crushing.
But if you can keep it good during that time, then that's
Success.
that feels good.
Yeah, that feels really good.
You know instantly what's happening.
Yeah, that's really good. Think about some of the other things that we've talked about since we've been together too, like the stress balls, relieving stress, getting enough good sleep. All of those things come together to get us where we are today, and things that you need to that you can draw on, over this next 6 months. Because once we kind of put it together for a full year, then we're getting it. We're ingrained with, but now's the time. Like a lot of you have been very, very, very successful, and it's kind of one of those things where you get to where you want to be, then it's kind of like we get comfortable, and as he talked about, that's when we kind of start to slip a little bit. So again, just kind of pull off of all the different things that we've talked about. Stress is one of those things that can throw you off, because some of us are stress eaters. That's getting together at the holidays. Sometimes just the hecticness of it all can cause, some bad habits to slip in. But try to remember good sleep, keep stress at a minimum, watch our eating, but still enjoy, the holidays and the times. What I want you to do is to think about, okay, so we've got the next 6 months in front of us. I'd like for you to think of a long-term goal of yours. You can keep it private, you can write it in your notebook, but I really want you to think about what a long-term goal, based on where you're at now, where you want to be in the next 6 months. Like, what's something that would mean a lot to you, that, something that's measurable, something that you could say, okay, I did accomplish that goal, but really put some thought into where you want to see yourself, and then try to hold yourself accountable to, for the next 6 months, as we're only going to meet once a month, to try to meet that. And if anybody wants to share those, we'd love to hear it.
Well, I still have the same goal to get my A1C down.
Have you, when are you due to have that measured again? Do you know?
Couple months, it went down 2 points.
Excellent!
Wow.
That's,
Yay.
I mean, that's
So you've
amazing.
had it measured in the time since we started this?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Where'd you go?
What did she say?
Well, the doctor wanted to put me on medication, and I don't like when I'm on medication. I
Sure.
said, let me try diet.
Good for you.
So, I
I bet he was so proud of you.
Her A1C went down 2 points.
What's the normal A1C?
So you're considered pre-diabetic if your A1C is between 5.7 and 6.4. So anything less than 5.7, where you're not considered pre-diabetic or a patient with diabetes. But 5.7 to 6.4, you're considered pre-diabetic, and then 6.5 and higher, you're considered a patient with diabetes. Yeah. So good job.
I'm working to get lower.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Good job. And
And you
again,
did it with diet and exercise, that's
we
great.
have some amazing amazing medications. There's no doubt about it, and Tammy and I will be the first to say, if you need to go on medication, that's the thing to do. But diet and exercise, even if you go on medication, diet and exercise are always a good idea because you're contributing to your health that way. And a lot of times with diet and exercise, we don't need to go on the medication. If we've got time to see if diet and exercise are gonna help, absolutely go that route. Sometimes we don't have a choice, right? Because we don't wanna harm our body, and if our A1C is incredibly high, we don't have time to let because diet and exercise take a while. But if we do have that luxury of having that time, yes, absolutely, give diet and exercise a try. Because again, even with medications, you're only helping your health. Does anybody have a goal that they want to share? Or let me ask it this way, has anybody's goal really changed since you've been doing this? You've reached your interim goal and now you have a new goal.
I would just like to be able to stay stable as far as weight goes.
Good.
Because I've lost weight with watching carbs. It's really been successful. But the problem is now keeping it stable.
Yeah, and that's a big battle with weight loss, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys ever watch anything on Netflix, but I kept seeing in social media the biggest, the TV show, The Biggest Loser, and so many people would go on there and crash weight off. And then every Biggest Loser contestant that they talked to went right back to their weight and even weighed more. And so it was just, again, that's why Tammy and I talk so much about small behavioral changes. Things that you can carry forward, things that become just behavioral habits, just part of your lifestyle, and you don't think about, okay, I'm still on this diet, or okay, I have to stay in this little controlled box. They're just modifications, simple things, because again, a little tweak here and a little tweak there, they all add up and can really make a difference, a big difference. So that's the reason why, just simple things in your life, simple recipe modifications. Maybe a habit was, I always get up and I have, toast and butter every morning. And maybe just changing that a little bit to have, instead of butter, avocado on your toast. Or instead of, 2 slices of bread, you have 1 slice of bread and you introduce some protein. All of those just little things. We don't focus so much about taking away, we focus about adding the good stuff in. And again, that really makes a difference and will really add up. Because again, when you think about how much weight this group has lost, or the people that didn't need to lose weight, how many different healthy choices you're making, really has been beneficial to your health. So think about those goals. If you can't think of something now, put some thought into it and think about, what do you want to see the next 6 months look at, and kind of give yourself that target of, okay, this is my goal, and really continue to work towards, what you want the next 6 months to look like. Anybody have any questions? Anything over all of what we covered in this? These first 6 months have kind of been considered the core of the program. Now we'll do reinforcement. I like the idea of us talking about protein bars and oils.
That's a
We'll
great
add
one.
that to the next session. We'll bring some sample, because again, protein is such a big buzzword now, it can get overwhelming when you look at all the different things with protein now, and just deciding whether it's a good source or not.
Well, there's so much talk about oils, there's so much talk of omega-3s and omega-6s and keeping the proportions correct for those, and it's just mind-boggling.
And that's where it gets into the micros, and that's a lot to manage too. But if you're a fish eater and you can introduce some fish into your diet, that's always a great way to. And again, there's so much talk about eating the rainbow, but it really is true. If you can get a wide variety of nutrients into your food base, that helps too.
What do you think of these protein drinks that you can buy, like Premier and those type of things?
Well, I'm going to let Tammy speak to this too, because I'm a vegetarian, And so it's a way for me to get my protein, because I've got some pretty specific protein goals for myself, and not being a meat eater. When you think about it, if you can eat a chicken breast, that's 30 grams of protein. Well, I get my protein through either tofu or beans or nutritional yeast and things like that, and I'm not getting as big a clumps of protein. I'm getting 5 grams here and 2 grams here. Well, when you're trying to hit 100 grams of protein a day, that's pretty ominous goal to try to hit. So I do use protein drinks. Not excessively, but I will have one a day, which gives me that extra 30 grams of protein to build on. I watch heavily in the literature to see what the talk is about them. And if you look, they're not all created equal, and you can really go down a rabbit hole of all the different things that are in them, and the bad things, and the this and the that. I just recently saw an article that was like lead. Lead in protein drinks. Now, did you look at the list though?
No, I did not.
So the list, so I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta look at this list. So the list, believe it or not, was mainly plant-based protein drinks, which kind of caught my eye because I use a lot of pea protein in my protein drinks. There's a VEGA is one that I use a lot. So I was like, oh my gosh, because I will drink some whey protein in the Premier protein drinks. Premier is one of the ones that I drink, but I do a lot of plant-based, and most of the ones that had too much lead were plant-based proteins. So take that into consideration. Look at the label, but like, if they could have put Premier on there, they would have, because it's a huge name. If they could have gone after Muscle Milk, they would put that on there, because that's a big name. There weren't any of the big name ones on there, and if they could have put one of those on that list, it would have been a big coup for them. But none of the big name protein drink names. Now, Tammy and I like the Premier protein. She doesn't tolerate it as well as I do. And she's got some protein challenges too. So again, it's just whether, personal thoughts, but again, I use them quite a bit.
And I just don't like them.
She doesn't like the taste.
I don't like artificial sweetener in anything, and all of them have stevia or even monk fruit, and even though it's not necessarily, it's still natural.
Yeah.
I just don't like the flavor. To me, they taste bitter. But if you like them, I think they're fine. I just don't like the taste.
It's like the Lilly chocolate chips. I looked at the label of that. That has, what is it, erythritol?
Yep.
Yes.
There is all kinds of bad stuff coming out about that as far as the health of your brain.
That's the reason why I don't use them very much. Like with the brownies, if I want something like that, I'll put them in. But then I also have that internal debate too. Okay, you're not getting as much carb with the Lilies, and you're not using that many, but really then if you're not using that many, Toll House semi-sweets, a few of those are not going to increase the carbs that much. So again, there's that battle too. Because again, I know I've shared with you guys, I drink a Diet Coke now and then. Now I've tried to do a lot better because my business partner is very good about reminding me that I shouldn't. And again, I was drinking way too many of them, admittedly. But again, there's that whole, what about the coloring? What about the artificial sweeteners? I keep a pretty close eye on that. And yes, water is always better than having, all the different, but the amount that you have to take in is so high. But again, it's always better to go as clean as possible. So there's that. It's a balance. Yeah.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Who Hot is my favorite restaurant. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's on Olive and Mason. It's a Mongolian barbecue.
Okay.
I get all of my protein from tofu. And now that reminds me, I had 2 doctors that said I should be, as a male, eating red meat and not tofu because tofu is not good for men. What's that all about?
Well, it's a soy product. So there's debate about whether, because I have breast cancer in my family. So that's another question of, it's a soy product, is that a good idea or not? But again, when you look at the different red meat versus soy product, you know, I don't know my stance is that I use tofu. I personally use tofu because I think it's a very good lean protein source for me. But it's the soy in it that they're concerned about you having too much. So how many grams of protein would you say that you get there?
40
For a man, you should be getting more grams of protein.
in
a
one
day.
meal. Yeah.
Okay, so like how many grams of protein do you think you take in a day?
Protein, probably about 150.
Okay,
Okay,
good,
good.
good. And some of that comes from meat?
Actually, it comes from nuts and things like that.
Okay, good. So would you consider yourself a vegetarian?
No.
Okay.
No, not really. I mean, because I love salmon.
Oh,
I just don't.
so pescatarian then.
I don't like red meat. It's just never appealed to me.
Yeah, and there will be very few cardiologists that will say you should eat red meat. So, because again, there's a reason why the Mediterranean diet wins so many awards. And they say red meat, you're allowed once a week red meat, if you want it. But again, that is very fish-based, healthy oil-based, you know, getting your protein other than from red meat. So again, is it an easy source of protein to have meat? Yes. Is being more plant-based, pescatarian-based a little bit more complicated? Yes. But again, I don't think there are very many cardiologists out there for cardiovascular health that would say, yeah, you should get your protein from red meat.
I think it's moderation.
Yeah.
I think, again, tofu's fine when you don't eat it hot daily.
No, I don't. But I do fill up on the tofu.
Right, and that's okay, but you're not doing it every day.
No.
So I think it's just that, if you know, in moderation.
Yeah.
How do you prepare your tofu?
Oh, so I like to roast a lot of vegetables. So typically what my tofu is when I, fill my bowl with vegetables to roast, I just take a thing of tofu and I crumble it up in there or cube it up in there, and then it takes on the flavor of the spices that I throw on the roasted vegetables, and then I put it all on a roasting tray, and I kid you not, when you eat those roasted vegetables, you don't know, oh my gosh, I just ate tofu. Because it's just mixed in with the seasoning, the texture becomes kind of the same as a roasted vegetable. I fixed it for a bonfire that Tammy had, and you couldn't
It was
really,
fabulous.
you couldn't find the tofu in there. So again, tofu is one of those things, I think immediately when people think about it, they think, this mystery blob of stuff. And again, if you ate just a
would not,
piece of tofu, it doesn't really have any taste, and the texture is not great. So again, when you roast it with vegetables, it takes on that flavor, and then it gets, I buy the extra firm, so it's not quite so squishy, and then I press a lot of the moisture out of it. So then again, after you roast it, it's just mixed in with the other vegetables. And that's what's so great is with this roasted vegetable mixture, like of Brussels sprouts and cauliflowers and broccolis and all of that good stuff, then you're getting protein too. So it's really good.
How does
It's healthy.
meditation play into this?
How does what?
Meditation, they talked about meditation.
Stress reduction. Anytime, there's, again, I need to bring that too. We're just gonna have, next session is gonna be a lot of there's an article out there called 40 Things That Increase Your Blood Sugar. And stress is one of them. Lack of sleep and stress really can bring your blood sugar numbers up. And the more, again, just for your overall health. We know when we get stressed, when our body's stressed, we produce cortisol because your body doesn't know, am I stressed because I need to run from a bear or what? So your body prepares to run from that bear, so it raises up your insulin levels, it raises up that cortisol level, and again, just not good for your body at all. So stress, being relaxed, meditating really helps calm your heart rate, your blood sugar, lowers your blood sugar, just overall good for your body.
You make it sound easy.
Oh, there's no, I mean, Tammy and I both, I mean, we've had a lot of events recently, and we know the struggle. I mean, we face the struggle every day. And again, nobody's gonna be perfect. No, and we don't expect perfection. And again, I think I've mentioned this before, there's no article out there that says you're healthier if you do 100% versus the 80-20 rule. You know, we're all gonna have those days. We all are gonna make mistakes. We're all gonna be like, what the heck, you know? But again, don't slash the rest of your tires, fix that flat tire and get right back on the path. It's just, you know, it's just better for your health all around. Again, we all are gonna get older, hopefully. But it's being our strongest self to handle whatever's thrown our way. Whenever we hurt our foot, whenever we have to have surgery, whenever, whatever, you know, whether it's, you know, a family member or whoever that we need to be there for too, we want to prepare our strongest self. And that means doing the best that we can to be as healthy as we can.
This is very personable, and you don't have to say it if you don't, but at one time were you heavy?
So,
you certainly aren't now.
Gosh, I'm trying to think. I guess it was more of, you know, when you're very deep into your kids' lives and running here and there, and my husband and I have 5 kids together, so again, we were split in a lot of different directions, and as you know, that doesn't leave a whole lot of time for yourself. So at one time, I just kind of was like, okay, and I ended up losing 50 pounds with Weight Watchers, and then just kind of, then I would say I kind of, you know, you get in the habit over years, and a little bit of that crept back, and then I lost back down. I actually had a patient call me out. So Tammy and I were in the diabetes department, and you know, you just kind of get back in your daily habits, and I hadn't realized that I'd kind of let my weight creep up, and I was talking to her about her weight, and she goes, well, look at you, you've gained weight. And so I was like, well, okay.
Wow.
So then I really put a crunch on it, and Tammy had to live with me while I had a little sticky note on my computer, and every day I would mark off, you know, down another pound, down another pound. So I've got weight issues in my family too, so I've been up and down. But yeah, I had years ago had a big, like 50, I lost, I want to say like, I was at 49 and a half pounds, and I thought, well, I want to make that 50, so then I ended up just, you know, going over and doing the 50 pounds. But that was a long time ago. So.
I have something personal that happened to me a couple hours ago. I was at someone's house for lunch, and the one gal had made a dessert, homemade, and was served my piece, and I was leaving some part of it on the plate.
Yeah.
And she kind of said, well, everybody's complimenting her on this homemade dessert, you know. Yeah. And she said, you're not finishing it, Doris. And I said, well, it was delicious. I said, but I think I've had enough. Yeah. And I felt shamed by not eating it, so I took my plate back, and I did finish the thing. And I feel guilty about that. Now, how should I have handled that? I don't know how to handle that.
And that's a very sticky situation.
Because somebody shouldn't push you to the point.
No, not at all. And we don't want to make our friend feel bad that put in the effort.
Right.
But on the other hand, you have your own personal goals.
That's right. And it really disturbed me because my piece, it looked, at everybody else's, looked like my piece was even bigger than whatever everybody else said.
And you know, sometimes people...
Well, you can say, I'll take some of that home with me.
Yeah.
That's a good.
That is a great suggestion. It was delicious. It was delicious, but I think I'm going to take the rest of mine home with me. That is a great response.
Well, I only have these 2 little like bites left.
So here's an interesting situation. Tammy and I on Tuesday night had an insulin pump like vendor meeting that we went to. So I asked Tammy when we got there, I said, did they ask us what we wanted to eat? Because Tammy has alpha gamma?
Alpha gamma.
It's called alpha gamma, so she got bit by that tick, so she can't have meat anymore, hooved meat anymore. You can have fish. Chicken and fish, yeah. And then I'm a vegetarian, so again, it was like, okay, what's gonna show up on our plate? So one time we went to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and when they found out that, you know, we didn't want meat, they brought us I am not kidding,
The
you,
serving
a
bowl.
family-size serving bowl of just pure pasta.
Oh.
Pure pasta, just pasta. So anyway, so then having done that, I'm like, Tammy, did they ask us what we wanted to eat? And she's like, no, I don't think we had a card or anything we were supposed to turn in. So our plates show up, we have a steak and a chicken breast on our plate. And it's swimming, there's some asparagus, but it's swimming in the gravy or the stuff from the steak. And then a big pile of mashed potatoes. And that was our meal. So then, Tammy and I are kind of like, well, okay. And then, guess what they brought us for dessert? A huge, huge piece of cake. I mean, it was huge piece of cake, and it had this much icing on it. Yeah, and this was at kind of a diabetes type of event. And it's like, who thought this out? So,
Oh my.
so again, there's always those things. It's just
What
like,
did you do?
Take it home.
Well, we kind of picked at the cake to kind of make it look like, and talk about shaming, when the guy came and got my plate, he goes, oh, well, I guess you're just not eating. And
Really?
I, didn't take the time, I thought, well, I'm just not gonna say it, but, take the time to say, well, actually, it's not something that I eat, so.
Yeah.
But again, it's just one of those things, so. You just never know where those challenges are gonna come. But I love your idea of,
Take
that's.
it home.
Yeah, and you know what?
I didn't even think about that.
I wouldn't have either at the time, but that's a great suggestion. But also, we all know those people that when we're being successful with kind of a journey of health, there are some people that just don't really, they don't want to take the time to do it or whatever, that are not going to be supportive of it. And, they prefer to, I wouldn't say run you down, but they prefer, not to be as supportive as they could be, so, yeah.
You can also ask for a smaller piece up front.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, they just served that.
Yeah.
Right. And I always think turn it around too, if you ever have people over for dinner. How many times do you say, do you
Right.
want more? And they're like, no, I'm
Yeah.
fine. You're like, oh, you can have more. Like, you don't mean it to be
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
So now I think differently too.
Yeah.
I think, okay, if
That's
they don't
right.
clean their plate,
No,
I don't have to
that-
offer
that's
them
right.
more
Yeah.
either.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't think it was meant to be. They're like, oh, you don't like it? You're like, no, I like
Yeah.
it. Fine.
Yeah.
You just, you feel defensive a little bit.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
try not to put other people in that position either, so.
Well, if you just say, I'm watching my weight, that's.
And then
I
they'll
think
say, oh, you're
sufficient.
just fine.
You're just exactly right.
Oh, you don't need to watch your weight.
yeah.
You just run by,
Yeah. Yeah.
Men don't say that.
All right, you guys, well, it's been wonderful as usual, and we will see you in November then.